Hello all, my name is Howie and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be covering the first 2 episodes of the new Disney Plus TV show, Ahsoka. Now this is not going to be a play-by-play scene-by-scene breakdown of the show, but more my thoughts on the first 2 episodes and what I want to see going forward, as well as some of my concerns from what I've seen in these first 2 episodes. Now do be aware, in order to do that, there more than likely will be some spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled in the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, click off. Come back later, I promise the video will still be here. Now let's get on to the video. Overall, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. The search for Thrawn and Ezra is a great place to start a story, especially one featuring Ahsoka and Sabine. I feel like they've set up a story that can expand the universe in a way that we really haven't seen before, and that's a really good thing. While stories like, Andor and The Mandalorian are certainly doing a good job of filling in the existing galaxy, seeing beyond the galaxy is something I've personally been wanting to see ever since the Yu Zhen books of the Legends series. Now, if I said that incorrectly, please let me know in the comments. It kind of makes sense that they would begin looking outside the galaxy anyways, from a story perspective. When you think about how much of the existing Star Wars galaxy is already explored, the idea of somebody being missing for a multitude of years seems a bit far-fetched, especially with the Purgo being the things that pull you in and out of hyperspace. I mean, the chances of them ending up in a populated system seems really, really high. Like, that's something that would likely happen. So the fact that they've kind of moved that threshold to be somewhere outside of the galaxy, I think is a fantastic thing. Now, I do want to zoom in a little bit and really take a look at some of these characters and the relationships that they built in this episode. Clearly, friendships have gotten really only stronger, with one exception, amongst the remaining members of the Ghost crew. The camaraderie between Hera and Ahsoka seemed genuine and founded on, war buddies that had seen a lot together and been through a lot together. Same thing with Hera and Sabine. It felt like their relationship was really only deeper from where Rebels ended. Hera continuing to be a mother-type figure to Sabine, even though she was general in the Republic. She was really great, and it was really wonderful to see. That same genuine affection and caring for one another was there, but very strained and understated in the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine. You could tell there was a desire to fix what was there and fix what was broken, but both of them were too stubborn to make the first move. And that really was a pretty great dynamic. That mothering aspect of Hera really felt like a continuation of the Rebels TV series. And that's really what these first 2 episodes really felt like. A continuation of the Rebels series. Now, I really like Rebels a lot. It's one of my favorite Star Wars stories. And there were so many nods and cameos to Rebels throughout these 2 episodes that, it made my little Rebels heart happy. I'm hoping that people who are not Rebels viewers, or people that haven't seen Rebels before, really enjoy them as much as I do. But when you think about the things that showed up there, we got Lothal, Lothcats, the road leading out to Ezra's tower was great. I loved that scene featuring Sabine on the bike going out towards the tower. The Clancy Brown cameo, that was fantastic. Seeing the Phantom live was another one that made me really, really happy. That's another one of those ships that I really love from the original Rebels show, so being able to see that was fantastic. And I'm certain there are other cameos and nods that I missed. I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch that and see if I can catch any more on my return viewing. But like I was saying, this feels like it is a continuation of Rebels. It feels like it is designed to bridge the gap between the end of the Battle of Lothal and the last 4 minutes of the Rebels TV series. Quite literally the last few shots of that second episode were shot for shot and the same shots we got from the ending of the Rebels TV series. So seeing that there kind of communicates to me that yes, this is a continuation. We are concluding Rebels here and we're continuing on in a new story in new uncharted territory. I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait. The other really big thing that I really appreciated about these first 2 episodes is their continuing way of connecting back to the larger Star Wars universe in a really authentic and meaningful way. We saw in Mandalorian Season 3, we had all of the Imperial officers who were being, conscripted and put back into service into the New Republic. It was very obvious that the New Republic had no problem using Imperial workers to help maintain that status quo of pushing out ships, pushing out materials, all that kind of stuff. And being able to see, actual Imperials doing actual work right under the New Republic's nose was a great way to remind us of the larger, political story that's going on, as well as taking this Ahsoka show and connecting it back to the other shows that we've already seen. It really helps to bring out that Star Wars cinematic universe. And really what it does is it helps to add believability to things like the rise of the First Order and things like the inaction of the New Republic. We see that as we do this here, we see this Empire remnant still continuing to work against the Republic and still trying to put themselves back into power. And we see the New Republic just blindly ignoring it. I don't think necessarily blindly, but we see the Senate paralyzed by inaction to the point where eventually they got destroyed. We saw that in episode 7. I love that it makes this world feel bigger and more interconnected. More of that, please. Big fan. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Instead of talking about the relationships and kind of the overall story, let's talk about some of these individual characters. My favorite of the episode was Sabine by far. She felt very much so like the Sabine we saw in Rebels. A bit hot-headed, a bit stubborn, insanely creative. I thought Natasha Liu Bordizzo did a great job bringing Sabine from computer generation into live action. And I know I butchered that name. I apologize in advance. Natasha, if you ever see this, my apologies. It's nothing personal, I promise. I really loved the scene with her on the speeder bike on the road going out to the tower. It felt very much so on brand for Sabine. Like, not only is she ignoring, the ceremony and the spotlight that Sabine hates, but also she had like enough of a connection with the pilots there to be able to kind of get them to help her out and like understand what she was doing. And I think that really speaks to how well the creators of the show, Dave Filoni and others, understand the character of Sabine. I thought it was really fantastic, and Natasha brought that to life really, really well. I really loved it. I want to know what is going on with Sabine and her Jedi training. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was really surprised, first off, when she called Ahsoka Master in the trailers and stuff like that. That kind of was like, wait, whoa, what a minute. I didn't want another Jedi. I really didn't. I wanted it to be Ahsoka is the Jedi, and that's the one that we get. That being said, of the characters in the Ghost crew to become Jedi, Sabine would be the one that I'd want to see. I'd want to see Sabine be the one to become a Jedi. And I really want to know, like, it sounds like she got pretty far in her training, because instead of, like, grabbing a blaster, which we see her using in Rebels all the time, she picked up a lightsaber. So, like, what's the deal, like, with that? Is that something where she's trained so hard to be a Jedi that she is just more comfortable with a lightsaber now? I find that hard to believe. And especially considering how much tension and drama there is with that relationship with Ahsoka. So I'm really curious what that's about. I'm also wondering, like, is she really Force sensitive? I mean, that conversation with Huang made it very clear that she doesn't have a lot of Force ability. Does she have any at all? It sounds like there might be some there, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with that. I also want to know, like, what caused Ahsoka to walk away? Was it Sabine's lack of Force capabilities? Was it something else? Was Sabine getting too close to Ahsoka, or vice versa? Was there something there that scared Ahsoka away? I want to know what that's about, and I really hope that's a question that gets answered in this series. I really, really, really want to know. Moving on, another one that I really liked was Hera. And I mean, just like with Sabine and Natasha, I thought Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a fantastic job of bringing Hera to life and continuing on, not only bringing her to life, but continuing the character from Rebels. Her costume and makeup looked fantastic, but her performance really caught just how strong Hera's relationship with Sabine was and how much Hera cares for Sabine, and I think it was fantastic. I mean, you could really tell all she wanted to do was help repair this relationship between Sabine and Ahsoka, even though we know that she's a general in the New Republic. She's that much of a badass, but she still wants to focus on this relationship with her family, with her found family. I mean, that we talk about badasses, that scene in the control tower where, like, she's trying to pull rank and get them to do what they're, stopping this ship from running. And, like, I'm a general, I should be able to do this. And then as soon as blasters come out, she's just bang, bang, bang. It's fantastic. Great to see. My favorite part of the whole episode, though, by far, was her and Chopper talking about the Tracer. That whole scene of the Corellia ship escape was so good. The lightsaber battle on the ground, the CGI of the ships, and the conversation between Hera and Chopper, it was so fantastic. I loved every moment of that. I want more of that, please. That was really was fantastic. The other character I really want to talk about is Balin Skoll. That guy was cool. Anybody else like just that guy was cool. I mean, and it was a killer performance by a guy named Ray Stevenson, the late Ray Stevenson. Apparently, I am not familiar with his work, but apparently he's a very good actor, as if this is any indication, but apparently we lost him earlier this year, which makes me very sad. But his performance was really good. His character is really interesting to me because it seems like he and Kanan came to the same fork in the road, and Kanan went one way and Balin went the other way. Instead of choosing the noble path of the rebellion and continuing the nobility of rescuing people and the Robin Hooding that the Jedi are known for, Balin chose the path of money and being a hired sword, or so it would seem. That choice makes him a really excellent foil to Kanan, and I want to see him and Hera meet, and how Hera handles that meeting, and just how she reacts to seeing this character of Balin, who is a lot like Kanan, or what Kanan could have become if she hadn't found him first. And his character in general seems one that, like, he knows a lot more than he's letting on. He seems like he's got a scheme or a bigger plot here. Very much so, feels like while Morgan Elsbeth is very much so goal-oriented on getting Thrawn back, almost to like an obsessive level, it feels like Balin is keeping his cards very close to his chest and maybe using Morgan as a means to an end. And it sounds like in the end of in that episode, we got that answer of more power. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Are we going to have like a double cross somewhere, a division between Balin and Morgan, or what's going to happen with that? Only time will tell. Like I said, overall, I was really impressed with the show. I do think that they've presented a great start to a story, and we've seen great starts to stories before. I'm worried that they're not going to stick the landing. I've got a couple other thoughts here, but that's kind of my big one, is I'm worried that they're not going to stick the landing. As we've seen with other shows that they've done in the past, they've got a great start, and then they kind of just fizzle out. There was something I really didn't like about this particular episode, these two episodes. The dialogue itself just felt really flat on those dialogue heavy scenes. Like when the action was going, the action was fantastic. It was great. And they were moving, things were going, everything was firing on all cylinders. It was fantastic. But the dialogue, like I said, just felt really flat and kind of just bland. And not only that though, but the editing of the shots seemed very bland and blah as well. Somebody would say a line, we'd have a nice standard close on their face, or maybe a nice medium shot, then we'd counter to the other person giving their side of the talk, and then we'd counter back to the exact same camera angle and zoom on the original person. It was just a kind of a ping pong back and forth that wasn't very interesting. There were no L or J cuts that I saw in there. It was very just blah. And I'm getting a little technical on that stuff. If you don't know what L and J cuts are, don't worry about it. But the long and short of it is there wasn't a lot of interesting editing in these dialogue heavy scenes. And it kind of took me out of the show a little bit, and it really killed the pace for me. I'm hoping that that's kind of more of a factor of Dave Filoni's newness to the medium of live action and not a directing choice that he's actively making. And I hope as time goes on, Dave will learn more about this and it won't become a staple of his directing going forward. But my other really kind of big worry about this show is that at the end of the day, my favorite character from this show is Sabine right now. Like, Ahsoka's cool and all, but Sabine is the one I'm interested in. And she seems like she's got the most emotionally invested in the story. And that bothers me in a show called Ahsoka. I want Ahsoka to be good, and I want Ahsoka to be the person that I saw in the Rebels show in Clone Wars, and so far I haven't seen that yet. I'm hoping I'll see more of that in the future. And I'm not talking about lightsaber dueling, that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about the character. She was a little too stoic for my taste. And what I really want to try and avoid is that what happened in the Book of Boba Fett, where the most interesting episodes in the Book of Boba Fett were the two that didn't feature your title character at all. That's not what I want for the show. I want Ahsoka to be really good, and I want to see more from Ahsoka. She's very, very stoic, which I guess would probably be the ideal Jedi, but it's a little too much. I need to get more of that passion and more of that fire from her, and I'm thinking we're going to get it. I'm hoping that we're going to get it, but these first 2 episodes, that was kind of my biggest concern and my big worry. But for now, really, to be honest, I'm very optimistic. Overall, it was a very good show, and I'm excited to see what else they do with it. So those are my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. Well, let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Let me know down in the comments. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on Ahsoka going forward, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you along for the ride. I'm going to be making videos every week talking about the Ahsoka show, and I'd love to have you join in on the adventure and tell me what your thoughts are. Again, my name's Howie. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.